I secretly trailed my husband after noticing a peculiar message. My world stopped when he arrived at that house. A woman opened the door, beaming genuinely. The children called him Daddy. I felt nauseated, yet what unfolded afterwards changed my life indelibly. Hi, I'm Lisa, and here's the tale of how my flawless existence crumbled in one day. For a decade I believed I had everything. A wonderful husband named Mike, 2 delightful kids, and a home alive with laughter and love. Each morning started with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, sunlight gently pouring through the kitchen window, and my heart brimming with gratitude for the life I had built. Mike was my first love, my confidant, my partner in every adventure. We met in college, and from that moment there was no looking back. We married young, full of passion and idealism, convinced that nothing could ever shake our connection. Mike was charming, thoughtful, and diligent. He was the kind of husband who never forgot our anniversary and always knew precisely how I preferred my coffee. 2 sugars, a splash of cream, just the right amount of sweetness to start my day. We shared dreams, fears, and endless laughter. Together we created a home filled with joy and welcomed 2 amazing children, Emma and Jake, into our lives. It all felt like a fairy tale until that fateful day when everything shifted. It began like any other morning. Bright rays of sunlight dancing on our bedroom curtains, the soft giggles of our kids downstairs, and the comforting scent of coffee drifting through the air. Mike gently kissed my forehead before leaving for work, murmuring his usual, "I love you, Lisa. See you tonight." I smiled, unaware that this was to be our final serene moment for a long time. After sending the children off to school, I found myself alone in the quiet house. I poured myself another cup of coffee, sat on the couch, and absent-mindedly picked up Mike's phone that he'd left behind. My fingers traced its familiar curves until a ping from a new message startled me. The screen lit up with a note reading, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed you." My heart skipped a beat, and a tightness seized my chest. Who could this be? I tried to dismiss it as an error, a wrong number or a misunderstanding, but curiosity mingled with a growing dread. With shaking hands, I opened the message. There it was. An intimate conversation filled with tender promises from someone I'd never heard of before. A woman named Emma. My head reeled as disbelief gave way to nausea. It couldn't be real. Mike would never betray us, our children, or the life we had shared. Yet, undeniable evidence lay before me. Breath growing shallow and panic gripping me, countless questions swirled in my mind. I set the phone down, overwhelmed and unsure of what to do next. Hours dragged as I paced the silent house, desperately trying to rationalize the situation. Deep inside, a painful truth was dawning. The love of my life had been concealing a terrible secret. All day I battled with swirling emotions, anger, sorrow, betrayal, each more overwhelming than the last. By the time Mike returned, his smile as warm as ever, I barely managed to hold myself together. I forced a smile, asking about his day, scrutinizing him for any sign of deceit. His eyes met mine with a comforting familiarity, void of any hint of guilt, yet that ease felt monstrously deceitful. Every smile, every kiss suddenly carried the bitter taste of treachery. That night, as I lay awake beside him pretending to sleep, his steady breathing contrasted painfully with the storm raging in my mind. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every shared memory, questioning whether our life together had ever been genuine. The man who had held my hand during childbirth, who had comforted me through every challenge, now seemed like a stranger. Morning arrived, but instead of relief, I awoke with the resolve to unearth the truth, no matter how painful. My perfect life was in ruins, yet I needed to know the full extent of his deception. The following day felt surreal, as though I had stepped into someone else's nightmare. Mike left for work early, oblivious to the turmoil swirling within me. His farewell kiss on my cheek felt strangely cold, a stark reminder of the reality I now faced alone. The walls of our once cozy home closed in around me as I was haunted by painful memories and unanswered questions. I retraced my steps through the rooms, searching for clues I might have missed, signs that Mike had been leading a double life right under my nose. Every family photograph, every memento now appeared sinister, tainted by the possibility of a grand deception. I knew I needed answers, but confronting Mike directly terrified me. Instead, I found myself drawn back to his abandoned phone on the kitchen counter. My trembling hands picked it up once more, knowing that I might discover more than I was ready to handle. I scrolled through months of messages between Mike and the mysterious Emma. With every word, a declaration of love here, a promise there. Anger and heartbreak surged within me until it felt as if my insides were unraveling. I could no longer remain passive. I had to know how deep his betrayal truly ran. Driven by an overwhelming need for the truth, I began rummaging through our home, searching every closet, drawer, and cabinet for any evidence of his secret life. In Mike's home office, hidden beneath a pile of papers in his desk drawer, I discovered an envelope filled with receipts from restaurants, jewelry stores, even vacation spots I'd never heard him mention. My hands trembled as I realized the full scope of his double life. Every late-night meeting, every work trip, every suspicious call now made horrendous sense. A carefully spun web of lies, each thread tightening my suffocating grief. As the day wore on, a paralyzing dread consumed me. How could I confront him with this avalanche of evidence? What would become of our children, our family, the life we had built? The thought of shattering everything filled me with dread. Yet living in a lie was no longer an option. Exhausted both emotionally and physically, I collapsed onto our bed, clutching the receipts like damning evidence, tears silently streaming down my face as I contemplated my next move. I could no longer pretend that everything was all right, even though I feared the destruction it would bring. That evening, when Mike returned home with his familiar, carefree smile, the storm inside me erupted. He greeted our children, kissed me lightly, and chatted casually about his day, every word hollow and mocking. I longed to hurl the receipts at him, to demand answers aloud, but fear kept me silent. After tucking the kids into bed, the house was enveloped once more by silence. Noticing my distress, Mike gently asked if I was all right. His concern, whether genuine or not, shattered the last fragile barrier I had built around myself. Unable to contain my anguish any longer, I inquired about the strange message from the previous day, watching his reaction closely. For a fleeting moment, his warm smile faltered and was replaced by a dismissive shrug. It was just a coworker texting the wrong number, he claimed, his voice too casual, his ease at lying sending shivers down my spine. This time I was determined. I pressed further, mentioning the name Emma. Instantly, his expression shifted. Panic flashed in his eyes, then vanished under a veneer of calm. Emma is nobody, Lisa, he insisted, as if trying to gaslight me. His words stung deeply, igniting a fury I had never known. I yearned to scream at him, to unleash every shred of evidence I had painstakingly gathered. Yet something inside held me back, fear or perhaps disbelief that this was truly happening. That night, lying beside him, I made a silent vow. I would uncover every detail of his deception, regardless of the pain it might cause. My world had shattered, but I refused to remain in the shadows of his lies. As dawn broke, I resolved to follow him, to witness firsthand the full extent of his betrayal. Mike, blissfully unaware, drove off, leaving me to grapple with a storm of emotions. I trailed his car through unfamiliar streets, each turn tightening the knot of dread in my stomach. The rational part of me pleaded to turn back, but a deeper, primal urge drove me forward. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes, no matter how unbearable it might be. Eventually, Mike slowed as he turned into a quiet neighborhood I had never seen before. A picturesque area lined with neat rows of trees and immaculate family homes, each one a bitter reminder of what I had lost. My hands trembled as I parked discreetly, heart pounding wildly, and watched from the shadows as Mike stepped out of his car. I could hardly believe I was spying on the man I had trusted above all others. Hidden in my car, I observed as he walked confidently toward a charming blue house adorned with white shutters and vibrant flower boxes. At the doorstep, he paused to adjust his tie, exuding a familiarity that made my stomach churn. I silently prayed that this was all a terrible mistake, a nightmare I could awaken from. But then the door swung open and there she was, a woman I had never seen before, smiling warmly with sparkling eyes as she greeted him. The sight of her embrace crushed me, and what followed tore my heart apart. Two small children rushed to him, calling him Daddy, in voices filled with innocent adoration, and in that moment my entire world collapsed. Tears streamed uncontrollably as I witnessed Mike scoop up the youngest child and spin her around with a laugh that once belonged only to our family. The woman, Emma I presumed, stood there smiling kindly, oblivious to the devastation her presence inflicted on me. How could he have constructed an entirely separate life, hidden away for so long? My mind raced, desperately searching for an explanation, trying to piece together how I had been so blind to his lies. Every late night at work, every sudden business trip, every unexplained phone call now painted a grim picture. A masterful tapestry of deceit, woven thread by painful thread. I felt paralyzed, torn between the urge to flee and the need to see every agonizing detail unfold. Minutes passed in excruciating silence until Mike, glancing in my direction, caught sight of my hiding place. Panic surged as I instinctively ducked lower in my car, my heart thundering in my ears. Time seemed to drag while I lay there, struggling to steady my breath as reality crashed over me once again. After what felt like an eternity, I cautiously peeked out and saw Mike, entirely absorbed in his secret life, unaware of my presence. For hours I remained a silent witness to every affectionate gesture, every shared laugh, each moment driving a dagger of pain deeper into my heart. As dusk approached, the soft glow from the windows cast elongated shadows on the lawn. Mike eventually emerged, tenderly embracing the woman and bidding farewell to the children with gentle kisses. His eyes filled with the same love he once reserved for me, mocked the truth I now knew. As he drove away, I sat there paralyzed by a mixture of anger, sorrow, and utter devastation. The realization that this had been happening right under my nose was a brutal blow to my identity as a wife, a mother, and a woman. How had I missed the signs? How could I have been so naive? Returning home felt surreal. My driveway, once a symbol of safety, now felt like the entrance to a lie. I collapsed in the living room, allowing myself to cry, a raw, gut-wrenching sob that shook me to the core. The home that had once resonated with laughter and warmth now seemed cold and empty, haunted by memories I no longer trusted. That night, sleep eluded me as I lay in bed, the ceiling a silent witness to endless tormenting questions. How long had Mike been living this double life? Did he love them more than us? Was every moment we shared a fabrication? My heart ached not just for myself, but for my children, who were now caught in the crossfire of a betrayal too deep to comprehend. As dawn slowly broke, a clarity emerged from the fog of despair. I could not continue living a lie, not even for one more day. I resolved to confront Mike, to demand explanations, and to force the truth into the light, even if it meant dismantling everything I had known. When the morning arrived, my determination burned brightly against the backdrop of shattered illusions. I would follow him, witness his every move, and expose the depth of his betrayal. The drive was endless, my mind a tumult of anticipation and dread as I navigated unfamiliar streets. Each turn, each pause amplified my anxiety until finally, Mike turned into a quiet neighborhood that seemed almost unreal, a stark contrast to the vibrant life I once knew. Parking discreetly, I watched as he exited his car, each step heavy with the secret he carried. Hidden in the shadows, I observed him approach a quaint blue house with immaculate white shutters and flower boxes brimming with color. His casual adjustments to his tie, the ease of his stride, and the familiarity of his routine made my stomach churn with sorrow. Then, as if to punctuate my despair, the door opened and a woman appeared, her smile warm and inviting, her eyes alight with genuine joy. She embraced him with an intimacy that shattered the remnants of my trust. Two small children dashed toward him, their voices calling "Daddy" in innocent adoration. At that moment I felt as if the ground had been ripped from beneath me, my entire world collapsing in a wave of grief and disbelief. I sat frozen, watching as Mike lifted the youngest child into the air, her giggles echoing a sound I once cherished. The woman, presumed to be Emma, stood by, her smile unwavering, completely unaware of the ruin she had caused. My mind raced, trying to reconcile the man I loved with the betrayer I now witnessed. Every stolen glance, every clandestine smile, every late-night call had been a lie meticulously spun. How many moments had been fabricated? How many truths had I ignored? Suddenly, Mike's gaze shifted toward my hiding spot. Panic overtook me as I instinctively ducked lower, pressing myself into the seat of my car. My heart pounded as I remained concealed, each minute stretching into an eternity. When I finally dared to look again, Mike was absorbed in his secret world, his life with another unfolding before my eyes. A life that had been meticulously hidden for years. As night fell and the scene played out, Mike eventually emerged to say goodbye to his other family. Their affectionate farewell was a stark contrast to the betrayal I now endured. I felt paralyzed, trapped between a searing rage and an overwhelming sorrow. As I contemplated the devastating truth, the man I loved had built an entire alternate life without me. The drive home was a haze of pain and confusion, and as I pulled into my driveway, the familiar sight of my home now felt alien. A shell of the sanctuary I once knew. Inside, I collapsed onto the living room floor, allowing the flood of tears to wash over me as I finally surrendered to the anguish. The once vibrant home now echoed with memories of a life built on lies, and every cherished photograph, every decoration, seemed to mock the truth I had uncovered. I began to remove them one by one, desperate to erase the reminders of our happier days. Yet each removal only deepened the void left by Mike's betrayal. Late one evening as I sat alone, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. With trembling hands and a racing heart, I hesitated before answering. "Hello," I whispered, my voice barely audible. A soft, tentative female voice responded. "Lisa, this is Emma." The sound of her name sent chills down my spine, and my anger surged. Yet before I could speak further, she continued, her tone gentle and vulnerable. "Please don't hang up. I had no idea about you. Mike deceived me too." Her sincerity, unexpected and raw, momentarily silenced the fury within me. After a long pause, I found my voice again, cautious yet compelled by a need for understanding. "What do you want, Emma?" I asked. Her reply was immediate and heartfelt. "I just want to talk, to explain my side of this nightmare. I never meant to hurt you, Lisa." Despite my anger, I sensed a genuine remorse in her words, and reluctantly, I agreed to meet. Driven by an aching need to comprehend the extent of Mike's deception, we arranged to meet in a quiet cafe, a neutral space where our shared pain might finally find some solace. When I arrived, I immediately recognized Emma. Contrary to my expectations, she did not appear as an adversary, but rather as someone whose eyes echoed the same devastation and betrayal I felt. It was strangely comforting to realize I was not alone in this anguish. We began our conversation hesitantly, each word measured, yet as we spoke, the walls between us crumbled, revealing the staggering similarities in our stories. Emma recounted how she had once believed Mike was her soulmate, unaware that he already had a family. Every missed phone call, every unexplained absence, now resonated with painful clarity. Tears welled in her eyes, mirroring my own grief, and in that moment, the rivalry I had imagined faded, replaced by a mutual understanding born of shared betrayal. Our conversation lasted hours, each revelation forging an unexpected bond between us. In Emma, I discovered an ally, a friend who had suffered the same ruthless deception. Together, we resolved to reclaim our dignity, to expose Mike's lies for what they were. What began as an unbearable tragedy slowly transformed into a determination to rebuild our lives on the foundation of truth and mutual support. In the days that followed, Emma and I met frequently. Our meetings, once shrouded in sorrow, evolved into planning sessions where we carefully devised a strategy to confront Mike publicly, ensuring he could no longer hide behind his fabricated charm. The chosen battleground was his office, a place where he had so meticulously constructed an image of respectability. We believed that by confronting him in front of his colleagues, we could not only reveal his betrayal, but also reclaim our shattered identities. On the night before our planned confrontation, Emma and I met one last time. Anxiety intermingled with determination as we reassured each other that although tomorrow would be painful, it was a necessary step toward reclaiming our lives. We promised to remain steadfast, no matter the cost. With a heavy heart and newfound resolve, I returned home, knowing that soon everything would change. Morning dawned with a mix of trepidation and courage, unlike anything I had ever experienced. Dressed deliberately to feel strong and self-assured, a stark departure from the insecurity that had plagued me, I met Emma outside Mike's office building. Her eyes reflected the same fierce determination that now defined us both. A silent nod between us confirmed that we were ready to shatter his web of deception. Stepping into the busy office space, every step echoed with our resolve. Mike, engaged in casual chatter with co-workers and oblivious to the storm about to descend upon him, suddenly froze as our eyes met his. Shock and confusion flared across his face as he struggled to muster a smile. Lisa, Emma, what are you doing here? He stammered, attempting to play innocent. The anger I had suppressed for so long erupted. We are here because you owe us the truth, Mike, I declared, my voice firm and unwavering. The office fell into a stunned silence. His colleagues exchanged bewildered glances as Mike's facade began to crumble. He attempted to dismiss our presence with weak excuses, but Emma interjected sharply. You deceived us, lied to your children, and betrayed our families. We are done living in your lies. Murmurs spread through the room as Mike's face flushed with a mixture of embarrassment, anger, and panic. For the first time he stood exposed. Without his clever lies or charming smiles, the raw truth laid bare before everyone. Desperate, he pleaded for privacy, but I refused. You chose this life, Mike. Now you must face the consequences publicly. Emma's steady presence beside me bolstered my determination. Your apologies mean nothing now. You have shattered everything we built, I added, my voice trembling with both grief and defiance. Mike's shoulders slumped in defeat as tears welled in his eyes. In that moment, our colleagues' sympathy underscored the justice of our actions. As we turned to leave, a sense of liberation washed over us. Outside in the sunlight, Emma squeezed my hand, and I realized that in the midst of our shared tragedy, I had gained not just an ally but a true friend. In the weeks that followed, as we began the painstaking process of rebuilding our lives, our children slowly found comfort in each other's company. The painful shadow of Mike's deception gradually faded into a distant memory. Although our home still bore the scars of betrayal, we learned to laugh once more, reclaiming moments of joy that had been overshadowed by deceit. Emma and I discovered a resilience within ourselves that neither of us had ever known. Our shared experience, while devastating, became the catalyst for personal growth, strength, and ultimately genuine happiness. Even as lingering questions about love, trust, and the true nature of intimacy haunted me, I realized that I was no longer defined by Mike's lies. Emma and I emerged from the wreckage, wounded, changed, but unbroken. Now, as I look back on the life we once knew, I recognize that although the betrayal shattered my trust and my family, it also ignited a fire within me. A fire that transformed my pain into power and my grief into a fierce determination to reclaim my life. Together, Emma and I are ready to face whatever comes next, united by the truth and emboldened by the strength we discovered in the midst of betrayal. This is not just a story of loss, but also a story of rebirth, a journey from deception to empowerment, from heartbreak to healing. Today I stand resolute, no longer a silent victim but a woman determined to rebuild, to love, and to live a life of honesty and strength. My past may be filled with painful memories, but my future holds the promise of renewal, and I will no longer let anyone live in the shadow of deceit.